Baseball isn't just numbers, numbers, numbers.
This game is not being played on computers.
You don't do that with a bunch of statistical gimmicks.
You don't put a team together with a computer.
We're talking weighted runs created plus,
expected WOBA,
his sweet spot rate,
defensive runs above average,
average exit velocity,
barrel rate,
xFIP,
BABIP,
SIERA.
We are above replacement radio. And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. Hello, Daniel.
Hey, Chris. Yeah, we are talking baseball today, unfortunately.
Yeah, we that's part of the contract we signed with the fans of Above Replacement Radio. We do it once a week, and it just so happens that our recording time for this week was about 2 hours after the franchise player of the team that we root for was traded.
Yeah, in case you guys are some of the new subscribers coming in after some of Chris's phenomenal video essays, and are listening for either the first time, or you're a new listener, Chris and I are both lifelong Red Sox fans. We cover the whole league on this show because we do care about every team, not equally, but we do enjoy a good White Sox game, believe it or not, every now and then. But primarily we are Red Sox fans, and it is a dark day for those of us who choose to root for this godforsaken team.
Right. Yeah, it is it's a crazy saga. I mean, it was completely unexpected. There was no rumors or discussions on Twitter about this, or in any news outlet about this, before it got broken by Robert Murray. That's why it felt like it was a fake, some sort of hacking situation. But then beat writers continuously kept confirming, and then all of a sudden Jeff Passan comes in, and now we know it's real. And yeah, Rafael Devers is a Giant. He is no longer with the Red Sox, despite being signed through 2033.
33, yeah.
So yeah, no longer with the Red Sox. The Red Sox get Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, James Tibbs, and I believe another prospect. But yeah, I mean, what are your first? What do you want to say first about this trade?
A credit to Robert Murray for being so on top of it that it actually seemed viable that that he was hacked. Nobody had this. This is not going to sound like a lot, but if you're on the internet enough, he had this like 3 to 5 minutes before any other reporter, which 3 to 5 minutes on Twitter is like decades. So the fact that there was that much time between him and I believe Julian McWilliams was the second person that I saw it from. It actually seemed sort of viable. Like, this is not real. Nobody else has it. Robert Murray was clearly hacked because why? Because who tweets that out of nowhere and has nobody else backing it up for this long? But he really was just that on top of it. Yeah, I mean, it was a stunning trade. Eerily, there are a lot of parallels to the recent Luka Doncic trade in the NBA, where it was just a sudden drop like this of a franchise player. Buster Olney reported that the Red Sox did not shop Rafael Devers, which feels like they called up a team, the Giants with that team in mind. Famously, the former team of pitching coach Andrew Bailey, they got an offer for two pitchers that can be on the big league roster within the next couple of weeks. Hicks is currently hurt, and Harrison was just optioned to AAA Worcester. But one of these guys, Andrew Bailey, is definitely familiar with. And that was they really just took the first offer they got, is what it really seems like, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, and the other huge part of this deal is that the Red Sox will not be eating any money of the contract. So I think that's why the result of the return seems pretty underwhelming, because not often do players with as high a salary as Rafael Devers get traded. So he was not going to bring back the value of someone who maybe would be in their arbitration or even pre-arbitration process. So the Red Sox offload about 30 million a year in trading Devers, and they also get Harrison, Hicks, Tibbs, and I believe one other, I forget.
Jose Bayo, I think his name is,
Jose Bayo.
who's in rookie ball.
Yeah, the Red Sox have had tremendous luck with Bayo so far, so
Yeah,
may as
exactly.
well continue.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's the culmination of, seemingly, publicly at least, a few months of very bad relations between Rafael Devers and the Red Sox front office, management, whatever it might be. It definitely sounds more like front office GM than anything else. We've covered on this show in spring training, right after Alex Bregman signed, Devers had those comments saying that he wasn't willing to move to DH, which I think you and I kind of agreed, large miscommunication on the Red Sox part to, market Bregman as a second baseman the entire time that they were pursuing him, and then, pull a just kidding, seemingly with Rafael Devers as soon as they signed him, saying, hey, we want him at third, go play DH, please. And then obviously the Tristan Casas situation where he goes down with an injury, which crazy that if Tristan Casas doesn't get injured, there's a chance none of this happens, because that really seemed to be the bigger one where, he makes the comments saying he won't go to first. He calls out Craig Breslow, not by name, but by position. He said the GM, needs to do his job and go get a first baseman. It's the culmination of it. We talked about it on this show. We were, we saw the flaws on both sides, but I think at the end of the day, we're both team Devers. But clearly it was enough to, do the big move. And that's what they did.
Yeah, it's been interesting to track, but even with all the drama that's taken place over the last about 4 months, no one expected this.
No.
There really no one did. It didn't even seem like any of the people reporting really knew that this was much of a possibility. So yeah, it's a absolute shocking move. It's a time of year also when trades don't really happen. If this were to happen maybe even a month from now, it would be, I guess, a little bit less surprising. But I mean, June 15th, a month and a half before the trade deadline, not in an off season where you would expect a deal to maybe allow itself to develop further. Just extremely random. And yeah, you really have to wonder what the background of the situation was. It seemed, and yeah, it was reported that Devers did not demand a trade, so it was not, that possibility is kind of taken out of the equation. So yeah, I guess the Red Sox seem to really want to pull the trigger.
This is just such an embarrassment on the organization, man. Like it's the third star player of theirs that they've let go in the last 5 years. It's the second one that they've traded. Back in the day, the Red Sox front office said we'll only be able to keep two of Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, and Rafael Devers. They got zero. They kept zero of them. Sure, they signed Devers to an extension. He's not here anymore. He was gone literally in 2025 at what, age 28? How old is Devers?
I believe he's 28.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's at age 28, he's gone. And like above all the drama, he was still playing like Rafael Devers. He homered today. He has a 905 OPS this season. He has a 16% walk rate. The Red Sox know what it's like to have a valuable DH. They're like the face of it. Like he had so many parallels to David Ortiz, whether it be, left-handed hitting, Dominican DH, a lot of power, killed the Yankees especially. Like they did, like they had David Ortiz on their team, sure, for a lot of money, but they had that guy for a decade, and because of a couple miscommunications with the front office, he's gone. Like that is, if that isn't like a glaring red siren for the state of the organization, for the fans, I don't know what is. This is a disastrous, abhorrent, horrible outcome for the Red Sox specifically. This is not a, we got a bad teammate off the field or off the team type of move. There is zero silver lining here.
Right. I definitely understand that perspective. At some point I will be at some point in this episode, I will probably try to play at least devil's advocate, so we kind of get both points of view here. But I think no matter even if the trade somehow turns out well for the Red Sox, and there's definitely a scenario where it does work out for the Red Sox. However, that scenario plays out multiple years from now. It does not turn out in 2025. And considering where the Red Sox are at as an organization right now, they should not be planning for the next couple of years. They spent pretty much the entirety of the 2020s prior to this year planning for kind of this time. Since about COVID, since maybe the Bloom era started, we've kind of been thinking about this team playing for like 2024, 2025. They were competitive-ish in from 2021 to 2023. As far as they went in 2021, they still kind of sneaked into the playoffs. They were, the organization was kind of setting up for this year. So to trade arguably your best player is very confusing. So sure, I think maybe without context, it could work out and be all right for the Red Sox. As I see Theo's wreaking havoc over on the other side of the screen here. But I could see a situation where it does work out, and the Red Sox maybe win this trade. However, it's not right now, and I think as a general manager or as an organization, you do have to consider that if you're competing for a championship, you do have to sacrifice the future, no matter even if there's a little bit of an advantage, how you see it, in investing in the future.
I understand that 5 years down the road, we might look at this and say that it's, good that we don't have this contract on our hands anymore. Uh, it's still bad optics, and I don't care about that right now. Like honestly, I would rather the scenario where, Rafael Devers goes out for the next 5 years, has this same kind of season. The deal was only going to go to what, his age, like 36, 37 season. Like it wasn't going to go that
Yeah.
deep. 30, yeah, it was going to go to his age 36 season. Like it's very possible he's still good up until, I don't know, age 34 and still putting up, an 825, 850 OPS at age 34. Like it's also very possible uh that he just performs through the good chunk of this contract. And sure, maybe it looks bad in 2032, 2033 when he's 35 and 36. It will never justify trading him right now. Especially coming off the timing. They just swept the Yankees at home. A game over 500 for the first time in a while. They are half a game out of a playoff spot. This is bad timing. It's like the teammates never publicly, despised him for these comments. They were posting about him when he was player of the week. Devers was saying that he had nothing wrong with anyone in the clubhouse. He said that he didn't want to be traded, or he didn't request the trade. Like the team is not going to respond to this positively in the moment. And like I know that this, is kind of an old school way of thinking, but like that's the last piece from the 2018 team. Nobody on this team knows what it's like to win here. Alex Bregman knows how to win, sure, but not here, and that's a different thing. Like that is a major piece of experience that is now gone from this team.
Yeah, it takes things out, and just it's very demoralizing for the fan base. Considering the point that I brought up earlier is that is it's all been kind of building up to this year. In a week where at the beginning of the week, Roman Anthony just came up, the last of the big three. What was the big four, but what is the big three? The last of the big three comes up. Now you have Meyer, Campbell, and Anthony, all at the major league level. Bregman's probably going to be back in maybe a month. It hasn't been great. You have an ace signed for the next 7 years. And the Red Sox also, I guess it's more recent, but the Red Sox have won 5 in a row. It doesn't make sense organizationally to make this move now. If say in a scenario where the Red Sox were in last place, maybe 10 games below 500, and Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, and Christian Campbell were all 2 years away from being major league ready, this would be a little bit more justifiable, although still maybe a bad move. It would be a little bit more justifiable, but right now it just it it puts the organization back multiple years when when this organization and this fan base has been waiting for that window already for so long.
Yeah, I mean it's not a Boston thing to do. This is not how Boston teams have typically behaved. I know that it is for the Red Sox in recent years. Some people saw trading Mookie Betts as well. Trading Mookie Betts was a bad thing. I don't even want to do this. Some people say thing. Yeah, like they traded Mookie Betts a year after, 2 years after winning the World Series, a year after finishing over 500 and seemingly still able to be competitive. Like there's still a lot of talent on the roster at that point. And I don't know. I thought, honestly, like truthfully, I thought that as a Red Sox fan, I would never see a worse day than the Mookie trade. This one is worse for me. One, because like Mookie Betts was at least, a year removed from free agency anyway, and was possibly going to leave. And you could have at least salvaged something for him if you didn't feel like you were going to compete in 2020. Devers, you have locked up until he's 36. Uh, like again, this is a move where it's literally just being made out of spite. It's literally just me being made because the Red Sox aren't satisfied with his behavior. It has nothing to do with his play on the field because they signed him knowing that he was a hitter, right? He was never a good defender except for one season that was what 3-4 years before he signed that extension. Like they signed him to be a hitter. They gave him the position that is solely based on hitting. He was doing that, right? I mean, he's having maybe his best offensive season of his career right now. He's changing up his approach at the plate and it's working for him. Like having a 99th percentile walk rate is a sign of sustainability going into your 30s and your mid to late 30s. Like he was showing every sign of being the same hitter as he has been for so many years. Like this is not justifiable by any means. In the long run, it may be like a dollars per war win, sure, but that's not how you're supposed to operate in this market. And I don't know what kind of fallout there will be from this. I'm sure that there's going to be hit pieces on him from the Boston media any second now. Um, don't fall for it. Like this is a bad trade. It should reflect poorly on the front office. I hope there is some kind of accountability. It is dreadful.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the fallout because if it really was strictly Craig Breslow's actions and John Henry had nothing to do with it, then there's no reason for the Boston Globe and for Nesson to kind of cover for him and come up with kind of a the Heimblum-esque smear campaigns that were happening in September of 2023. But yeah, it's interesting. I think part of it goes back to the fact that Craig Breslow is not the one who signed him, and that's actually I think Foolish Bailey, friend of the show, Foolish Bailey, had a good tweet about it, or at least brought that perspective into it that not a lot of people are talking about. Is Chaim Bloom was the chief baseball officer when the Red Sox extended Devers for 11 years and 330 million. And obviously Breslow came in about a year after. So, maybe it's very possible that Breslow did not see him as valuable as Bloom did, or as the rest of the Red Sox organization did, or Breslow's team does not see him as valuable as Bloom did or the Red Sox organization did. So it's very possible that even before all the drama, even heading into 2024, Breslow maybe saw that as a kind of a weak spot of the organization of spending maybe more than what he thought was necessary for Devers on an annual basis for a long time. So maybe this has maybe been in the back of his mind for a while, and the whole positional stuff further complicated it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. It's so bad, man. It is so bad. Um, if the team wants to sign Alex Bregman, they just gave him so much more leverage and made him so much more expensive. I was pro an Alex Bregman extension before this trade, working on the assumption that they would both be Red Sox long term. Bregman, one, can opt out at the end of the year, which probably looks a lot more enticing now, given the current state of the team and just the dysfunction in the organization. Two, he's going to cost a lot more now because he's going to be like, look, I saw how you just treated your franchise player. Like, if you want to keep me around, like, I got to really be convinced. And not only that, but now you desperately need, a cornerstone bat for the next few years. Sure, the young guys might be great, but we still don't know that. Like, I'm at least a proven guy. You're going to need to give me something. It is so bad, man. Like, I truly cannot believe it. Um, Another just terrible thing about this, and this is more of an anecdote, but like this only like what's the word I'm looking for? This only justifies all the hot takes guys on Twitter. Like that is another just bad thing that's gonna come out of this. Is that
Yeah.
when people say stuff, there's merit to it. Where it's gonna be like, well, people thought it was crazy to trade Rafael Devers, and they did it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Like all that's gonna do is verify those people.
it's
It
like if we
sucks.
did find out the Earth was flat,
It's gonna validate on that
it,
door.
it's like if we found out the Earth was flat, and it's like, oh man, this is gonna open up a whole different can of worms.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, now people can just believe any conspiracy they want to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
unlocks that
exactly.
door.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, no, it's so obviously I don't approve of the trade
no.
necessarily, but I'd like to sprinkle in some devil's advocacy just because it's fun to I guess be contrarian, I guess. And like I said, I don't approve of this trade, but um I think maybe from Breslow's perspective, maybe how he saw it is there's more value in um, Harrison Hicks, Tibbs, and Bayo plus $30 million than a DH who puts up, like a mid 130s weighted runs created plus per year on average about. That's about what he does. So, having those four players plus 30 million extra per year to spend, perhaps he sees that as more valuable. However, I think that also removes the context of the Red Sox are kind of set to win right now, so that would be my argument against that. But you know, the Devers, he's a very good player, and he's an extremely good hitter. He's definitely one of the better hitters in the league. But when you remove the defensive value as you have by placing him at DH, it makes you really have to put his hitting at even a higher standard. And when you look at the elite DHs, when you look at like a Yordan Alvarez type, his OPS plus is consistently in like the 160s, 170s, not this year, but 160s, 170s before this year. And um, Devers is usually 130, 140. So perhaps just from Breslow's perspective, paying 30 plus million a year to a DH that's maybe going to put up 3 to 4 wins above replacement per year was not the best thing in the world for him. Plus, you add in kind of all the drama of the positional stuff this year. So, I think that's kind of the perspective he's coming at. You can agree with it, disagree with it, but I think maybe to make his perspective a little bit more clear, I think that's kind of what he's thinking about.
Do you think it's more likely that or the positional stuff? Because I think it is just straight up more likely it's the positional stuff.
I I think that positional stuff
I
it
I, I don't
plays.
doubt that your line of thinking there is not a part of it. I think that definitely justifies it a little bit, but I think ultimately if Tristan Casas doesn't get hurt, this doesn't happen, whether or not the Red Sox are still paying X number of dollars for a future DH for the next decade.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the positional stuff definitely played a factor. But there's probably a threshold that Devers could have hit to make Breslow not want to do this. And not, I'm not placing the blame on Devers necessarily, but perhaps if his OPS was about 1,000 instead of 900, then maybe Breslow just wouldn't have ever considered this trade. But considering I guess it's a lot easier to offload a guy who's projected around 4 wins above replacement than a guy who's projected around 6. But that's just that's all spectacle. I
It's
really
complete
don't know.
guessing. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is very much an afterthought, but like it feels very that they did this right before the Red Sox went on their longest road trip of the year. Like if they did this and had a game at Fenway tomorrow, that would be just chaos. They don't have another game at Fenway until June 27th.
Yeah, you have to wonder if this was almost like scheduled and
Because people are saying why do it now after sweeping the Yankees and having all this momentum? Well, they won't have to face the home crowd again until a week and a half from now, which I can imagine there will be a lot of outrage at Fenway on June 27th. They could go 10-0 on this road trip that they're about to go on against Seattle, San Francisco, by the way, and Anaheim. And I think like we're still gonna get, please welcome your 2025 Sox. Boo from the whole crowd. Like that's still gonna happen on the 27th of June. Um, Big question. Will Craig Breslow ever attend a 2013 reunion
huh.
again?
Yeah,
He
I
can't,
mean,
right? Like he can't do it. He has to win a World Series. That is the only thing that can somewhat justify it.
he
But
has
even
to
but even then, he's still gonna get booze.
he has to win a World Series or Devers has to go like full Chris Davis mode with the
Yeah, yeah,
Giants.
exactly. Yeah,
Or,
or Kyle Harrison has to become like a Hall of Fame. He has to become Randy Johnson.
exactly, exactly. Because even in a situation where the Red Sox like edge out the trade and like, they just who their package gets more wins above replacement than Devers and they win it, it still doesn't feel worth it just based on how you're making the fan base feel, how you're affecting just the entertainment value of watching the Red Sox right now. Like I'm not looking as forward to watching the Red Sox tomorrow as I would have been if Devers was hitting. It's just fun to watch him as a Red Sox fan. Just like a free swinging guy who can really make you never feel like he's a sure out at the plate ever,
No.
which that there's a lot of there's a lot of guys in the lineup right now who seem like sure outs. So yeah, it's like even if the Red Sox edge it out, it doesn't feel worth it because of also just where they're at organizationally right now. Like they're they kind of established themselves in win now mode when they acquired Crochet and Bregman. So to set them back a couple of years just really makes you wonder.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I mean, good for the Giants in this part. I mean, I like that they're just going for it. I think that's kind of what you have to do in this division. When you got a lot of star power against you, you can only add it yourself. And I appreciate the boldness of regardless of talent, which Rafael Devers has a lot of, committing $300 to an everyday $300 million for 8 years to an everyday DH. Like that takes a lot of. I do think it takes some degree of courage. Obviously, it's made a lot easier when said player is Rafael Devers. He's definitely not playing third in San Francisco because they got a. If you thought Alex Bregman was a better defensive option at third base, wait to see what the Giants have. Not
Yeah.
right now. He is injured, but it's a minimum. It's like a 10-day injury.
Yeah. Also, I know the DH rule like started 3 years ago, but it is funny. Like this trade really could only happen in the last 3 years. If it was
Mm-hmm.
2018 and Devers was
No,
the DH, it's like, well,
Willie
there's only
Adames to
14.
second base. Yeah,
There's only 14 other teams you could trade him to.
exactly.
Um, but yeah, I guess we could talk we could go back to the Red Sox, but we could talk a
Yeah.
little bit about it from a Giants perspective because this is a big deal, and I find it kind of ironic that the trade happened between these two teams because
Mm-hmm.
I think we pay us as Red Sox fans, we obviously pay a lot closer attention to what the Red Sox are doing, but the Giants have been kind of the National League Red Sox up until this point, and
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
in that they haven't really fully committed. They've I guess they haven't developed their farm system either, which stinks for them. But they haven't been able to get the big free agent. When when they seemed competitive, they didn't really go for it at the trade deadline. And I think there was a lot of criticism from fans just maybe not being as aggressive as they once were back in like the mid 2010s and back when they were also winning championships in the early 2010s. So the Red Sox go the opposite direction. The Giants go in full, in full committal in a full committal role. They drop off their first round draft pick from the 2024 MLB draft, along with Kyle Harrison and Jordan Hicks. They're committing, I think $250 million to a DH, and really strengthening their lineup. They've never really been known for their offense. They haven't had a 30 homer hitter since what, '04, I think.
Yeah.
So that ups their chances of getting that 30 homer hitter, maybe not this year, but next year.
Yeah.
So
Well, I don't
so
know. Devers playing with a grudge for the next 3.5 months doesn't feel
yeah,
too out of the question.
it could happen. It could happen
Likely,
this
definitely
year.
not. But I mean, I don't know.
But uh but yeah, it's I think it'll be a very good change of pace for the Giants, who just haven't really had that slugger since Barry Bonds.
Yeah. No, literally. Like he really might be the best Giants hitter since, actually. Um, I mean, I appreciate what the Giants have done in the last, calendar year, right? Like extending Matt Chapman, going out and signing Willie Adames, now doing this Devers trade. The rotation is a little bleak, but like there's definitely enough depth to justify making this move. Obviously, you have Logan Webb and Robbie Ray, who are both awesome. Hayden Birdsong is a really nice, he looks really nice. He's got good stuff. He's young, controllable. Landon Roop, same thing. They've gotten some value out of him this year. He's a 3.99 ERA and like perfectly fine 4.5 guy. And then as far as depth, I mean they're waiting for Verlander to come down in Sacramento. Maybe not filled out completely yet, but they also have some guys coming back from injury relatively soon. Like I mentioned, there's Verlander. They're waiting to get Keaton Wynn back at some point. Like they have some guys
Yeah,
enough to compete, at least enough to compete.
and entering Sunday, they had the 20th highest weighted runs created plus out of their DH position. So obviously that's going to be a big upgrade. They go from having a 93 weighted runs created plus at the DH spot to having a guy who's consistently been like 130, 140, always has the potential uh, to to be above that at the DH position. So that's nice. I am interested to see how the team change affects Rafael Devers, because he's going into a very different ballpark, and he's not necessarily the most pull happy hitter, which can work in Fenway Park, but in terms of Oracle Park, it might not be the smoothest of transitions. I'm sure he'll be fine, but I know that since the start of 2021, he has the most opposite field extra base hits by a left-handed hitter, and he's sixth when it comes to straightaway and pulled. So it's not like he has the most extra base hits as a left-handed hitter in general. It's just with opposite field extra base hits, and the majority of his extra base hits going to the opposite field has been at home since the start of 2021. And with the dimensions of Fenway Park are obviously different than they are at Oracle Park. It's 310 down the line at Fenway, 339 down the line at Oracle. And even though that wall is high, it does promote a lot of doubles. Devers hits a lot of doubles off that green monster. We've surely seen many of them. Whereas some of those might end up being fly balls at Oracle, but I'm sure he'll still be all right. And park adjusted stats do exist for a reason. So maybe his OPS will go down, but his OPS plus will stay around the same. But I'm interested, I guess, from an analytical perspective, to see how that kind of turns out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate a team just going for it, and that's exactly what they're doing here. But yeah, we when I talked earlier about that, it probably will be a downgrade for him in terms of ballpark. But I mean, I still think he will find a way to be okay.
Yeah, and he'll help the team. I mean, no one.
How many home runs would he have this season if he played all his games at Oracle? He has
I believe
14 right now, and
I
it's
looked at it earlier, and
15.
it
Okay.
was 15. Yeah. I'm sure he'd have less doubles, because the Green Monster
Maybe
does help
maybe
with
those
that.
ones to center field get converted a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is only 391 dead center
Hmm.
to
And
Oracle.
not with a big wall.
Yeah, not a big wall. But sometimes the winds on the coastline can
Yeah,
mess with
it's weird.
things sometimes. But it'll be interesting. Yeah, shout out to the Giants, really making their move. I think that fan base, it feels sort of like probably how we felt when the Red Sox signed Alex Bregman of like, okay, it's time to go. They're competitive now.
I mean, they were tied with the Dodgers in the division 2 days ago. Like
Yeah, yeah.
this team is for real competing.
Yeah, 100%. I thought I didn't have them as a playoff team, but I thought they would win more games than last year. I literally put my money on that, and because partially because they had some bad luck with like BABIP with runners in scoring position last year, and Jung Hoo Lee was out all of last year, so and they also they didn't lose much over the off season, that they didn't like gain back necessarily, even though they lost Blake Snell. He only pitched 104 innings for them last year, so it's not like they were missing much of that workload from last year. Um,
Exactly.
so, they kind of stayed stagnant in the offseason, which helped them out, and now they get Devers, and they've already been overperforming, and so this just ups their playoff odds even more. So, good for yeah, it is weird talking about it from a Red Sox perspective, but good for the Giants. I don't think any of the pieces they gave up were really vital for them,
No.
necessarily. Um, and it really helps them out for this year.
Yeah, no, I mean this is a fantastic trade for the Giants. And yeah, I mean it's just above all else for me, it's just really bad optics for the Red Sox that it looks like this trade was moved with this trade was made out of vindictiveness, out of pity, out of feelings of frustration with some of Devers' behavior and from but it didn't seem to be affecting any of his teammates. And it didn't affect his play on the field. He was still raking. Um, and to trade him just like to me, I mean, the way that it looks, like the optics of it as a fan, it looks like it's Craig Breslow being vindictive and holding a grudge and making a trade out of said grudge.
Yeah,
Obviously, I'm sure we'll hear more details as time comes. The Red Sox are holding a Zoom press conference tomorrow, which I think something like that should be done in person, but they make the rules, so that's what they're going with.
yeah. I want to go back to the or um where was that quote posted on like why on like the word from the front office.
Oh yeah, it was in the Boston Globe.
It was something about like they felt like he wasn't bringing the value of his contract,
Yeah,
um, which I get. It doesn't. It makes it seem like they traded him exclusively because they felt like there was more value in the trade, um, and hauling off the salary and getting the salary relief, than the value that Devers brought to the table. But you know, Breslow's not going to put out a statement like, "Oh, I just hate Rafael Devers and
yeah.
I need him to go."
Another just
Um,
mind-blowing thing for me, and we talked about this earlier, how the Red Sox didn't shop Devers. They called up the Giants. Seemingly that was the team they had in mind. They took the offer from the first team they heard. The Giants have one of the worst farm systems in baseball. I get that it's, Andrew Bailey's former home. He knows that pitching system and he predictably picked two pitchers, one of which he never, worked with in San Francisco. But and also one of them, he wasn't there when they drafted. And I don't know when they signed or when they acquired Bayo and put him in the system, but like that to me is also kind of an insulting part of it. I don't know if I don't know if any of the coaching staff had anything to do with it, if it was anyone beyond Breslow, but I don't know, feels a little telling that it was the organization that the pitching coach last worked with. And the two major league ready guys they got were both pitchers when you're
yeah,
creating a huge hole on offense with this trade.
yeah, exactly. And and yeah, we talked about it off the podcast, but it is just it's funny that it the discussion around the Red Sox trading a position player has largely revolved around outfielders this year, whether that's Duran or Abreu. It's pretty much those two, Duran or Abreu, considering that, Roman Anthony's up, Ceddanne Rafaela seems like a guy that the Red Sox are going to stick with. So who's going to go? And they trade Devers, and that logjam still exists. So
not only does it still exist, but you just got another left-handed outfield bat that is now in Double-A. Because the Red Sox, there's reported that the Red Sox are indeed promoting James Tibbs to Double-A. So like now he's knocking on the door for the next calendar year-ish, maybe a little beyond that. Yeah, now you have more problems to deal with at there. Like I don't know. I do wonder if this is just like if you're trading Devers, how deep are your postseason aspirations if they really exist?
Yeah, especially at this time of year when you're making this move.
Then sell whatever you can. Like Bueller's a free agent to be on a 1-year deal. Giolito's a free agent to be. Like I don't know. See if you can get something for Yoshida. See if you can get something for Story. Like if you're gonna sell, then sell. And you're going to sell because you just did in the biggest way you could have possibly sold.
Yeah, exactly. Because they did not really get major league pieces out of this. They got Hicks, but
he's injured.
Briefly.
It's toe inflammation. It's not like shouldn't be a long-term worry, hopefully.
But it does not supplement he's probably the third most valuable player in this deal, arguably like fourth.
Yeah. I would argue James Tibbs is the centerpiece. That would be it's a bold statement because Kyle Harrison is 23 and was very recently like a top 20 prospect. To me, like James Tibbs is a centerpiece. I like James Tibbs. I think he's a very good hitter. I know I would imagine more about him than probably the average Red Sox fan, largely because I got to watch him put up a really fantastic summer for the Brewster Whitecaps in 2023. He was the champion of the Cape Cod League home run hitting contest that year. He was the best player on his team. And was just a overall very solid hitter. Went on to put up a very good junior season at Florida State. I like him. I still would rather have Rafael Devers for 8 years.
Right. Yeah. And considering that the Red Sox did get another left-handed outfield bat, I don't know how long he's going to be in the organization. I imagine he's going to be a part of another trade. Or
it's possible, yeah.
Or maybe two of Duran, maybe both Duran and Abreu get sent off. If they really believe in Tibbs that much. But yeah, so if they did get Tibbs, who's that archetype that they're in abundance of, I think he would probably get traded, and I don't know. There could be value in that. Maybe they get a nice major league piece out of that if he's involved in that package. But it feels like the Red Sox would be doing too much in that situation. And then, Kyle Harrison, he's 23. He in his age 22 season posted a league average strikeout minus walk rate, which, I think as a potentially in his age 25, 26 season can be pretty good. But that's 2-3 years from now. And the Red Sox are in a win now window, arguably a championship window. I know they haven't performed to their highest level this year, but if they just won half their if they won half their 1-run games this year, they would be, I think, 2.5 back of the Yankees in the division. And we're only in June. They could still get hotter. Just no real reason to just push the organization back 2-3 more years to maybe win a trade, and what I don't know what the Red Sox are going to do with the extra $30 million a year if they choose to act on it. It's like, would you rather have Dylan Cease than Rafael Devers on your team? I don't know. Would you rather have Michael King on your team than Rafael Devers? I don't know. It's debatable, certainly, but it doesn't help the team right now.
No, I mean, it's not only does it not help the team now, but I don't even think this helps the team in the long run. If I'm being so real, I really don't see how this makes really anything better going forward because, like I said, he's still only 28. Like, there's no reason to believe he can't go on and have this kind of season for the better part of the next decade. Um, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know. I feel like I've said all I can say. It's horrible optics. It's the culmination of just gross malpractice and dysfunction within the top of the organization. Uh, Even worse, like if firing Craig Breslow is the move, I don't know who's interviewing for that job. Craig Breslow was like the Red Sox 12th choice when they hired him 2 years ago anyway, and firing another GM after just a couple of years, after already doing having done so for the last like four different guys, is not going to be an attractive job for anybody. It really might just be a situation where they have to hire Alex Cora because nobody else wants the job.
yeah, right. It's crazy. Yeah, we've talked we've we've talked endlessly about the shelf life of the Red Sox general manager slash chief baseball officer, whatever. They've changed the title of that role so many times because they've changed the person in that role so many times. Um, but uh, but yeah, and even playing devil's advocate and talking about how this could end up good for the Red Sox in the long run, you're still relying on a lot of
Mm-hmm.
hypothetical scenarios. And I guess, Devers continuing succeeding is a hypothetical scenario, but considering the fact that he has been at a very solid offensive level for more than the last half decade, it seems a lot more realistic than okay, Tibbs ends up coming up and working out, and Harrison develops and turns into a solid, number
An
two starter
ace, an
behind,
ace.
yeah, number two
I
starter.
think it has to be ace
Well, Crochet could end up, but a number one
for
in
sure.
an
But
average
yeah, a number
rotation.
two behind Crochet, but someone who could be an ace in most rotations.
Yes, true. So Harrison develops and is consistently a low threes, high twos ERA guy. Hicks turns into something, and Bayo turns into something. And the
Yeah,
Red Sox use the 30 million extra a year and sign a really good free agent who actually produces for them.
but
So that and also the Red Sox spend that money. So that's
yeah, which is I
hypothetical
wouldn't
that
even
you're
call that a
dealing
guarantee.
with.
Most of the things that I would want them to do with that 30 million that they just cleared up, they could have just done with Devers still on the team. They have enough money and they were still under the cap. Signing Roman Anthony to an extension, which is going to be a lot more difficult now. Signing Marcelo Meyer to an extension, maybe even Alex Bregman. Like the only free agent bat that's out there, really the only free agent period that's out there this coming off season that seems justifiable enough is Kyle Tucker. And what is he? A lefty outfield bat, which we just talked about. The Red Sox already have 500 of. Like that's only going to, sure, does it make the offense better? It does, but all it's going to do is worsen this logjam that we've been, dealing with for a couple years now. Like that's the only money, like big money you can spend on a player, with the money that you just cleared up from Rafael Devers' contract, that would make it seem somewhat acceptable. And even then, it has its clear flaws.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Never mind the fact that like he hits most of his home runs to right center field. Um and might not work in Fenway. But yeah, no, it is definitely frustrating, for
Another other
sure.
thing, and this is just anecdotal, but like the fact that the Red Sox are now without like a star Dominican player, I think is like quite devastating. Like the Red Sox have been like very synonymous with Dominican superstar players. They're an incredibly popular team down there. There are players in the Dominican Republic that grew up rooting for the Red Sox, some because of, David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez. Nowadays, it was because of guys like Rafael Devers. Not only do they not have that guy, but that guy's not walking through the door. There's no prospect. There's no guy coming up to the organization. There's no one on the team right now that that has a chance to develop into that kind of guy. Like they don't have that, and that's really like it's kind of the first time like since but pre Ortiz that's happened because even like Devers came up and was an exciting guy the year after Ortiz retired.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I know
right.
that seems very anecdotal. I think there is like real tangible like value in having that. Like it's a cultural thing. It makes the Red Sox into a global brand and makes them into a team that a lot of talented players want to play for because they grew up watching those kinds of guys. They don't have that guy now.
Yeah, and helps if you're seeking out like a Spanish speaking free
Yeah.
agent.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. 100%. Yeah. I mean, like,
yeah.
it's talked about like, the way that they treat Masataka Yoshida. How does that bode when they're trying to recruit, say, a Roki Sasaki, maybe a Munetaka Murakami when he's up next year? Like, it doesn't look good. Now, if you're trying to, sign a Dominican free agents, or even just like a Latin player free agents, even like you don't have, a guy that though that player would want to talk to and hear about the Boston playing experience. And if anything, you know, those players, the Latin players, like they talk whatever team they're on. Like someone really might just still talk to Rafael Devers and be like, hey, they wronged you. Is it really that bad?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, Framber Valdez is another
Yeah.
upcoming free agent after 2025 that the Red Sox could potentially seek. And yeah, even if he does end up coming to the Red Sox, the price is probably a little bit higher because, he doesn't there's not as much security and, there's not that connection that he can make before potentially getting that signing. Um,
The
yeah,
closest thing they have to that is Brian Bayo, who is, who had a good outing today, but still hasn't really shown to be anything more than like a number three.
right. Yeah.
Like
We've
that's not the same caliber of player as the Ortiz, Manny Devers types.
yeah, like we've been kind of waiting for him to flourish since like 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, it's a domino effect, and um, it certainly it certainly makes 2025 look like kind of a wash. But yeah, you know, it's
It
out
is.
of our control. So he'll still, Devers is still in my MLB The Show franchise, so at least I have that. He is injured though, so I'm waiting
This is
for him
real
to come
quick.
back.
This is from Chris Cotillo, friend of the show of Mass Live. A source with knowledge of the Red Sox Rafael Devers relationship described it tonight as, quote, an unsalvageable situation for both parties. Devers was frustrated with mixed messaging from different voices in the organization, felt like a scapegoat. The root was what the player felt was disorganized communication from the jump this year, which is objectively true. He has every right to feel that way. And sounded like, they needed to pick between front office members and Devers, and they chose the front office.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, and I I'm not I'm not trying to place blame on anybody, but I do wonder what the like if anything, and I'm sure it's unlikely, but I wonder if anything got mixed up in what how Breslow and Cora communicated because I know
Mm-hmm.
Breslow was kind of in the forefront of you know wanting Devers to kind of move around and whatnot, and Cora, and at least I know right before opening day this year, Cora was the guy who was like Devers is not going to field at all. He like if Bregman's out, we're going to put another person at third base that's not Rafael Devers. So Cora was the guy that said that. I don't know if like I wonder if Breslow wanted him to say that. I wonder if that was a situation where Devers was like, I either want to play third base or I want to play only DH. That's what I want to do, and that's the only situation. So it's a lot of things that we can't, figure out ourselves, but something to ponder for sure.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, anything more before we get into players to highlight?
I think I said all I can say.
Yeah, it's crazy
it's
situation.
it is. I mean, like this is 100% a low point in my fandom. Like I feel worse about this than I did the movie Batch trade. Um, they make it so hard, man. Like I don't. I know it sounds like very first world problems coming from someone who's witnessed his team win multiple championships, but man, like it is brutal to try to root for this team right now.
Yeah, I think the tough part is that it's all very avoidable. You know,
It's
the best.
so preventable. All of this starting with the trade, all of it was so preventable. They could have signed Xander for half of what the Padres signed him for. They could have done something, before the lockout to, avoid having to settle for Trevor Story. Um, it's just such a bad. And then the Devers stuff, like it's bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the most frustrating thing. Like if you're a fan of the Pirates, hypothetically,
Mhm.
it's like, okay, well, this owner sucks, and we know that, and we can't really change that, and that's just the situation, and we're just gonna have to live with that. With the Red Sox, they have owners willing to spend, but um, they tend to complicate things a lot, and you don't really know what to expect. And that is greatly emphasized with this. It seemed like before this season that they were back to the kind of old fold of, spending to win and, going out, getting stars and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it just set the organization back to um, how it felt back in like 2021, 2022. Um,
Yeah.
so anyway, um, I know players to highlight. It was hard to fill out today.
Yeah, I was about to start it right when the news came out, and obviously uh I didn't because I needed to really comprehend this.
Yeah,
And
I
then I was like, I don't have the energy, man. I have a how about that. I do not have a slightly alarming. I don't have any notes, but I did know who I was going to put as my how about that. And I knew what I was going to look for, so I do have a couple things.
all right. Well, so yeah, we'll enough of all this good news. We're gonna start with the lows, so we end with the highs.
And then you're gonna
Talk.
just go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I'll just be going ahead and talking about my slightly alarming. He's been barreling up the ball way less.
He's not missing bats. He's not getting the ball on the ground, and people are hitting it in the air more.
It's been so bad. He is getting a
Slightly alarming.
All right. So this player, and by the way, slightly alarming is players and subjects that have been underperforming expectations. Um, and my player to highlight, I had him top 10 positionally. He was, I think, my number 10 left fielder. I don't think you had him in your top 10. I was holding on to a little bit of optimism about this particular player, and it looked decent for the first month and a half, but lately it has not looked very good, and that is Lars Nootbaar of the St.
Mm,
Louis Cardinals. Normally his issue is staying on the field.
health.
That has not been the issue this year. In his last 24 games, the issue has been the fact that he's hitting 161 with a 466 OPS. Out of 183 qualifiers in the span heading into today, he ranks second lowest in average, fourth lowest in slugging, and fourth lowest in OPS. Out of 178 hitters with to see 300 plus pitches in this span heading into today, his expected batting average was the lowest. Expected slugging was the fifth lowest, and his expected WOBA was the third lowest. His strikeout rate, and this is mostly pretty much all him just making less contact. His strikeout rate has gone from 16% before the span to 35% in this span. Out of 191 qualified hitters heading into Sunday, his strikeout rate is sixth highest. Also, largely correlated to that, his whiff rate has gone from 17% to 28%. And his called strike and whiff rate with two strikes has gone from 15% to 31%. Along with striking out a lot more, he is walking a lot less, which is pretty alarming considering Lars Nootbaar is really known for getting on base via the walk. His walk rate has gone from 15% to 7.8%, and that is largely due to his chase rate going from 20% to 26%. And that is why Lars Nootbaar, my number 10 left fielder heading into 2025, is getting a. Let me turn up the volume.
Slightly alarming.
All right, so Lars Nootbaar getting a slightly alarming. And now we go from the lows to the highs, where we're talking players or subjects that have been outperforming expectations with our Sunday, June 15, 2025 edition. of how about that?
He's striking out less, walking more, and he's also making better contact.
Turning into a strikeout machine just out of nowhere.
He's been excellent all around this year.
And he is getting a...
How about that?
Before I start, we do actually have some breaking news. This just coming from Alden Gonzalez a minute ago. Shohei Ohtani will start tomorrow night's game for the Dodgers against the Padres at Dodger Stadium. That's pretty cool.
Look at that.
He's back.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy to think how valuable he has been. And it's like, oh yeah.
He also pitches.
He's done about like 60% of his workload. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, what was your how about that?
Yeah, my how about that is a guy that I think pretty clearly has been overdue. This is one we probably should have done a few weeks ago, but I held out if it was going to stick because we've been a bit down on this guy in the past, but he's made it undeniable at this point. I'm talking about Jeremy Pena from the Houston Astros, who is a top 5 player in the league this year, according to F4. He's at 3.6, which is 5th behind only Aaron Judge, Cal Raleigh, Shohei Ohtani, and Pete Crow Armstrong. And he's the number one shortstop by F4. How about that? That's pretty cool. Overall, he's slashing 325, 379, 485 this year for an 864 OPS. On top of that, he's playing some of the best defense of his career. He's having, I believe he's already broken his career record in BSR and is, on pace to break his defensive runs above average personal record as well. On top of that, obviously a 148 weighted runs created plus. He's kind of just thriving on all aspects right now. Going into some of the numbers, he has increased his pulled air rate this year, which might lead you to believe that he's hitting a lot more fly balls in the air. That's actually not the case. His pull rate on fly balls has gone down, but his pull rate on line drives has gone from 36% last year to 51% this year. And you might be thinking, well, how much of a difference does it make if you pull a line drive? A line drive is a line drive. It's going to be a hit most of the time, no matter where you hit it. And you're right. But across the league this year, pulled line drives have a 688 batting average, and line drives hit elsewhere have a 602 batting average. So it's very good to hit line drives everywhere, no doubt. But when you pull it, we're talking about an 86-point difference in batting average, which, when you're doing that a lot more, probably explains why Jeremy Payne has had much better stats this year. On top of that, he made some changes to his stance. His batting stance went from being 3 degrees open last year to 18 degrees open this year. He's opened up his stance a lot. He was a lot more closed last year. Because of that, his average point of intercept has gone from minus 0.5 feet ahead of home plate to 1.4 feet, which obviously contributes to that increase in pull rate. Additionally, his ideal attack angle has gone up from 55.5% to 62.9%. And his average launch direction, his average attack direction has gone from 5 degrees to the pull side to 8 degrees to the pull side. So what I'm trying to say here is Jeremy Payne is getting out ahead of the ball. I mentioned the pulled line drives. That's obviously what we're seeing out of him. And that's, I think, been kind of the leading factor in his resurgence this year.
Yeah. Jeremy Pena.
How about that?
Yeah, and I think just in general on pulled batted balls, like hitters hit it way harder, so I think that's part of it. And the Jeremy Pena being the number 1 shortstop in baseball this year is really that's why they play the games moment, because when we did the rankings of the top 10 shortstops, it was like, well, we got these, we know the 10, no one's really close to these 10. And, the top 5 are all top 10 players in the game. And then we get Jeremy Pena out of nowhere, just becoming a top 5 player in baseball and the best shortstop of the year, according to F4 at least. That's not everything. I'd like to know how many runs he's driving in. That's personally where I draw my line. My how about that is, I believe I'm checking a team off the list here. I believe as you were as well. But I'm talking about Willie Castro of the Minnesota Twins. This man enjoys just a hot streak out of nowhere, because I believe he might have been an all-star last year. I forget if that was the case, but
I know he was good last year.
He was a contender, and it seemed kind of out of nowhere, and the first 2 months of the year for him seemed to be proving that. But now he's developing into one of the best hitters in baseball, at least for a 16-game span, because in his last 16 games, including today, Willie Castro is hitting .421 with a 1264 OPS. Out of 191 qualifiers, out of 191 qualifying hitters during Castro's 15-game span heading into today, his average ranked 7th, slugging ranked 3rd, and OPS ranked 3rd. Out of 131 hitters to see 200 plus pitches in the span heading into today, his expected batting average ranked 4th and expected WOBA ranked 12th. And this is largely due to how hard he is hitting the ball. He's had a drastic change in average exit velocity as it has gone from 85.3 miles per hour to 94.1 miles per hour in this span heading into today. Out of 131 hitters, his average exit velocity ranked 12th heading into today. Also including today, his walk rate has gone from 6.8% to 12.3%, partially due to his chase rate going from 33% to 29%. Along with hitting the ball harder, he's hitting more line drives. His line drive rate has gone from 26% before the span to 37% in the span heading into today. And out of 234 hitters to hit 25 plus batted balls in the span heading into Sunday, Castro had the 14th highest line drive rate. Along with hitting more line drives, he is hitting far less pop-ups. His pop-up rate has gone from 10.5% to 2.6%. And this has all made his sweet spot rate go from 35% to 50%. And out of 234 hitters heading into Sunday, his sweet spot rate ranked 7th. And as we know, the sweet spot rate between 8 and 32 degrees. Hitters hit around 600 and slug around 1100 in that zone, which is why it's important. And he has also gone from, along with directionally, or at least angle-wise, doing better. He's also hitting it to the right ends of the park. He's gone from pulling 26% of his fly balls to 50% of his fly balls. This has helped his home run to fly ball ratio on Baseball Savant go from 9% to 30%, which has been a part of why he's hit 5 home runs in 16 games. So yeah, Willie Castro has been one of the best hitters in baseball due to him hitting the ball harder, hitting more line drives, less pop-ups, and pulling more fly balls. And he is getting A.
How about that?
Very nice.
So at least Willie Castro and Jeremy Pena are doing well. We're not doing the best, but they are. So yeah, that is all for players to highlight. One thing I may want to ask about here on the program, Daniel did go to Citi Field this weekend,
Yeah.
and talked to some members of the Rays in the clubhouse. Talked to Kyle Snyder, noted 2007 World Series champion. How was that experience?
Yeah, I mean, it was it's a bucket list thing, obviously. You and I have had the fortune of covering some minor league baseball for this very platform. JustBaseball.com obviously gave me the opportunity to make my major league debut yesterday. Yeah, it's been a bucket list item for some time, and it was really cool. I got to write a story about what I talked about last week on this program, which was the Rays upping their fastball usage and the fact that they've had a lot of success doing that over the last couple of weeks, which has propelled them to, in part propelled them to go 18-6 in their last 24 games, which is the best record in the majors in that time. So, it was cool to, I talk about all this stuff on the show, but it was cool to see it have, tangible impacts on teams and be able to talk to, those teams and those players about it for sure. So that article's on justbaseball.com if you want to go check it out. It was a lot of fun to report on.
Yeah, it is.
And by the way, shout out to Mark Topkin from TampaBay.com. He's been covering the Rays since before the Rays were even a thing. He was definitely a big help yesterday in showing me around and showing me the ropes of doing this. So he was definitely very helpful.
That's awesome.
And if you don't follow his work, you don't follow any Rays beat writing, because he is the Rays beat.
Yeah, he is. He's that guy. But yeah, it was really cool to see that come to fruition. And yeah, see our nerdy baseball research actually like get
Sort of brought to
come,
life.
come full circle, and we get to actually talk to real humans that are affecting this phenomenon. Or you you talk to real humans that were affecting this
Yeah.
phenomenon. Yeah, it's a really cool thing, and fingers crossed, hopefully we can do more of that in the future. But yeah, so anything more before we wrap this thing up?
No, I think that's it. This was not a fun show. I wish I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, I it was it filled up the space, but I wish we talked about much more boring and less controversial subjects for sure. Wish we
Yeah.
talked about that Zach Wheeler retirement thing that will happen after 2027. Maybe we'll talk about it next week, but that was not a priority this week for obvious reasons. But yeah, that shall do it for this installment of Above Replacement Radio. We hope you enjoyed this one. We didn't enjoy it that much.
No.
But we hope you enjoyed it. Maybe if you're a Giants fan out there listening, or a Yankees fan soaking in our misery, maybe you enjoyed it. But if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and want to watch the conversation as it happens, go to the YouTube channel. It's called Above Replacement Radio. Check out all the playlists. We mentioned some of the friends of the program. We've had Chris Cotillo on, we've had Foolish Bailey on, we've also had Jeff Passan, Chris Rose, Sarah Langs, Mike Picciariello, Mark Simon 4 times, Matt Brash, Anthony Castrofins, among others, as guests of this program. So go check out the guest interviews playlist, check out the 2 video essays on the channel, and yeah, go follow us on social media. Follow me on Twitter @Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram @Daniel_Curran. On the Twitter, you can find his article about the Rays and their fastball usage on justbaseball.com. But yeah, that shall do it. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you next time, where we will be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball. Once again, see you then.
This conversation is over.